Cincinnati Bengals fans are calling the NFL rigged louder than everybody else that has been calling the NFL rigged. And this is going to become a problem, especially when all eyes are on a championship game. That first game, the NFC Championship, obviously everybody had plans on Sunday to watch both games. They lose both their quarterbacks. That game gets it going how it is. I think a lot of people kind of drifted away from their TVs, and they thought to themselves, Joey Burrow and Patrick Mahomes are going to be playing. I'll get retooled for that particular game. I don't know what the ratings are going to be. I assume it's going to be bananas.
Oh, yeah.
I assume it's going to be near 50 million people. 50 million people started watching and questioning every single thing those refs were doing because that's how poor the fucking refs were. Now, obviously, you talk about the way the game ended with a punt, and there was a potential block in the back with a big return, then the late push, and that's 15 more yards, and then the 3rd and 9 that they had to redo because there was a back ref and a wide 22 version that you see definitely come running in moments before the ball is snapped, because his job is keep an eye on the clock to see if the clock is right or not. So he comes running in, doesn't blow his whistle.
Come on. Interesting.
Because the NFL and a lot of people are showing, he definitely ran in. It was like, did he blow?
Too cold for the whistle.
Did he blow his whistle? Yeah. Did Cat get your dunk? Why didn't you blow your fucking whistle then if you're going to do that? I don't know what the proper procedure is for that. We'll be talking to Gene Steratore tomorrow.
Here we go.
On this particular program. We will certainly ask all the questions about procedure and protocol for that whole thing. Because could you not, after the play has already been run uninterrupted with no whistles, and they're not able to pick up the first down, now it's 4th down, which is a fucking pretty meaningful turn of events there. Could you not fix the clock afterwards because you didn't stop it? Instead, Ron Torbett, who is not necessarily the greatest ref in the history of the NFL, he was in the Super Bowl last year when the Bengals played against the Rams, and Logan Wilson in the 4th quarter late gets a phantom PI from that crew. I don't think it's the same crew as Ron. Ron was certainly the head ref of that crew, but it all kind of ties in together. That 3rd and 9 situation certainly warrants a lot of question marks about why the fuck is this how you guys decided to figure this out. But on the flip side, it feeds. It absolutely pours gasoline onto the fire of the NFL being rigged and wanting Patrick Mahomes and a new dynasty back into the Super Bowl. Andy Reid taking on his old team, the Philadelphia Eagles. The Kelsey Bowl happening. If you start thinking about how great it is to have the Chiefs and the Eagles, because the Eagles had already been decided, so if they're just booking this in real time, once the Eagles go in, boom, we need the Chiefs to go in, and they're purposely fucking the Cincinnati Bengals, you can start putting some things together where you're like, I could see how that could be the case. With that being said, the amount of people that would have to be in on it and the amount of money that all these people would have to be paid would have to be so astronomical that they wouldn't tear down the entire league. There's only like 20 states or 17 states that have legal sports gambling, and that's where everything revolves around. All the people that don't maybe gamble, all the people that just know of legal sports gambling or what sports gambling used to be, their first thought is, oh, this is crooked, this is corrupt, this is this, because you have the Black Sox that happen in baseball. You have college basketball things that have happened throughout the history of college basketball with 1 or 2 players being in on the take, and you have the ref, Tim Donaghy, whenever he was reffing for the NBA, who was in on it. So there is certainly examples of this in the past, but the NFL, if they wanted to just throw away their league when there's only like 17 states that have legal sports gambling, when there will be at least 47, I think, Utah's never going to get it.
Nope.
California and Florida are going to be tough.
It's going to take a long time.
But I think that's
kind of open season everywhere else.
Yeah, there's like 46, maybe 47 states are going to have it. So you would have to think that the NFL was so good at business that they would want to rig the games to have their big superstars in the games. But you're not giving them credit to be good enough of business to have the forethought to maybe wait a couple years whenever there's a lot more money on the line. I just think the amount of people that would have to be in on it and the amount of money that people would have to pay, and obviously this is too reasonable to even say this to anybody on the internet, that's just an absurd way to think. I do think, though, we have a massive officiating issue. I think refs suck. And not all refs. There are some refs that suck, and they shouldn't be in playoff games. Why are they in playoff games, especially when there's only 2 games and there's going to be 50 million people watching? That's a great question. We've been talking about the officiating stinking for a long time. I got tweets from a lot of Ohio fucks over there in Cincinnati who are diehard Houday fans and Bengals fans. Why don't you use your platform, and why don't you try to make the NFL better for once? Why don't you not candy coat it, not dance around it, not be the fake funny guy that you are, and why don't you call it the NFL for officiating? So this morning, I dove through our Twitter account, and we've literally been talking about this since 2018 about how full-time refs optically would just look much better fair to everybody. Because you got part-time refs and they're not full-time refs, there's a chance that they could be maybe swayed by somebody outside the NFL. Since they're not completely committed to the NFL, there's a chance that somebody outside could get a hold of them. Now, I think they get paid well. But what is well? What is the line? Especially with how much money is potentially being made off of these games and off of these deals and off these advertising deals and the sports gambling and everything like that. What is good money in comparison to? So you make them full-time, boom, we can eliminate that distraction of potentially getting swayed elsewhere, like all politicians, because they don't get paid enough, so they're easily swayed by big pharma, big gas, fucking alcohol, tobacco, whatever. You can get named into it. That's where all the money comes from, because they're able to be swayed because they don't make enough. Compared to who? They don't make enough in doing their job, so they're easily swayed. So it's like kind of a little bit of a battle optically to watch and say, yeah, that's real, yeah, that's not. With the NFL, the officials not being full-time and the officials being terrible at what they're doing and the way these games are being scrutinized at a different level because how big the fucking league is and how many eyes are on there. And with all the money coming in with us putting our actual money on these games now legally, it's going to get called into question. Tone Diggs, you put a tweet out last night that I loved. I didn't just enjoy it. I fucking loved it because it was a hilarious take. And obviously you got attacked and bamboozled about it, but we will talk about the reaction to your tweet afterwards. But your tweet is a very real thing. What Tone Diggs tweeted was he understands the fact that there's people that think it's, no, you said that you love the fact that there is people that think that the game is rigged.
Correct.
You also love the fact that as soon as you read that, you can tell that the person who wrote it has no idea what the fuck they're talking about. Could you please elaborate on that a little bit, Tone Diggs?
Basically, what you just so eloquently said is what I was thinking too. You have to, for the NFL to rig a game, everyone has to be in on it, right? Like, you've been in a locker room, AJ's been in a locker room, AQ's here, D-But's here. None of you guys have ever heard anything about any rigging, any.
Coach Pagano.
Who's up top, okay? Like, there's no way that you could rig an NFL game and make sure the outcome that you want happens strictly by a ref or two. Like, there's no way that can happen. And to your point, there's so much more money to be made in the future. Why would you do it now?
So you're saying they're great business people, that's why they're rigging games. And they're classified as entertainment. I don't think that's happening since 2015, but they were classified as an entertainment, and that was their way, being good business people, to get out of having fucking pay taxes.
Right.
So, like, people are, all the claims about it are that they are good business people. This is Vince McMahon, this is WWE, trying to flood the numbers, trying to make the best games possible. It's like, okay, so you're saying they're incredible business people that only care about the bottom dollar. Well, they haven't been able to be the tax-exempt crew since 2015. That whole thing changed. And if they were this great of business people, why would they ruin it now as opposed to the big fucking cash cow that's coming? But with that being said, the reason why it's being talked about is because how bad the fucking refs are.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't want to go through every take we've ever had about officiating and officials. We think there's a couple easy fixes. Make them full-time. That Sky Judge that they're using, but are they?
Yeah.
No. Devontae.
How about whenever the Devontae thing, obviously quickly that gets going, should have certainly been stopped, and there was that one view where it was clear that ball was moving.
And
should have been stopped in real time. It wasn't. But there was also a time where Zach Taylor challenged something, and then before he challenged, we had further discussion, and we don't think it's there.
Right.
Bengals fans don't remember that the NFL actually stopped them from using one of their challenges. Yeah, whenever he did the little pitch thing. They stopped the Cincinnati Bengals from using one of their challenges and just overturned the rule in real time.
Right.
I think they should be doing more of that.
Oh, yeah.
I think that should be a part of it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that fucker should be in New York. I think that person should be on site and set them up with a place where they have all the review. Put them in a truck. Have them have their own fucking truck in the back where they have all the cameras. Make it be somebody that's young. No offense to the olds out there. I think the youngs are much more used to using things quickly, whether it's video games, cell phones, fast forward, rewinding. We're using those on our phones every single day. No offense to the olds. I didn't think you had the opportunity to do that. Although you do have things that you are better at. I believe when it comes to modern technology, a lot younger people probably better at using it more efficiently, quickly, and in real time without choking, because this thing all has to happen within 25, 30 seconds if it wants to go right. I think the XFL had a great version of it. They had a guy on an Xbox controller up in a booth looking at the review, fast forward, slow-mo, zoom in, able to control it.
Perfect.
In real time, talking to the ref, hey, that ball was actually out of his hands. It's going to be a turnover. Ball's on the 34, first down Dallas or whatever. And we heard him say that, and then the ref literally said, okay. And I don't know if they alluded to what everybody just heard, and maybe the crowd in the stands couldn't hear it, but the ref said the ball was out. It'll now be first down, whatever. It was just like so quick, so efficient. It's like, here's the answer. Allow technology to help these refs because we all see something in, 8,000 frames a second is what 8K is?
Multiple times.
Is that what it is? 8,000 frames a second? Is that what 8K means?
That's what I thought.
Might be
man.
16,000.
That's pixels. Frames, not frames.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
8,000. We get to see something picture perfect in the slowest of slow motion. Human eyes can't do that. When they can, I will attempt to get the surgery. I assume everybody else will. But what these cameras can do and the angles these cameras have, the humans on the field with whistles in their hands cannot keep up with. So let's marry the two. Let's allow there to be a net for these refs to fall upon. Let's have a sky judge that is young, maybe ex-players. Make this a pipeline for ex-players to get into. These are all things that we've said in the past, but now that 50 million motherfucking people all saw the same thing last night in the NFL, hashtag NFL rigged was trending on Twitter with 27 to 28,000 tweets about it last night like this. NFL Twitter was live until 1, 2 a.m. this morning because everybody was talking about how bad the NFL's reffing is. Now, they're using it in a version of which the reffing is so terrible that it has to be fake, has to be cooked. And I feel bad to tell the people this. Some of these refs just suck that fucking bad.
Yes. Bingo.
And I think that's a tough thing for everybody to kind of get over, and I think that's reality. Now, we had a bunch of tweets and that got sent to Tone Diggs after Tone said, like, hey,
come on.
If you actually think it's rigged, you don't. And the reason why we're leading off of this, because this is a real thought.
Yeah.
And this is a real problem the NFL has.
Loud.
And I don't know if the NFL knows this, and I know there's some people that watch the show in the NFL offices, and we're being accused of a lot of things by a lot of people on the internet for not talking about this, even though we have hammered this home a lot. This is a real problem the NFL has to fucking fix. Cannot have the people thinking the NFL is rigged because of how terrible their officials are. Fix it. Here's somebody responding to Tone Diggs after Tone Diggs said, like, you don't know football if you're saying the NFL is rigged. The entire internet was saying the NFL was rigged. Here's B Park. LOL, you guys make millions of dollars by getting your fans to gamble on shit that's scheduled and set up and produced like a Marvel movie. Of course you're about it, Big Tone. Here's another tweet that came in. Here's from Summers. Freemasons and Jesuits clearly been fixing games for decades. Y'all just too lazy and gullible to do any research.
Come on.
Clown is what Summers says to you, Tone. Here's another one. NFL has already stated in court there in the entertainment business, not sports business. It also doesn't have to be everyone in on the rig, just a select few people. Okay, so those select few people have to be at every single game and every single team and every single official crew, and then those select few people have to be quiet, what, forever?
Oh, yeah.
I don't understand how that would happen. Here's another one from Lance Rothgar. Kelsey Brothers and Andy Reid facing his old squad. Players in no way involved, but the NFL and the refs know when to make the right calls. Complete opposite, I think, Lance. They don't know when to make the right calls because they don't ever make the fucking right calls.
Yeah.
I think everybody's saying these things because they're giving the refs too much credit. You guys are acting like these refs would understand how to fucking rig a game. Sure. And I know Tim Donaghy was able to do it in basketball. It's much easier. Because literally in basketball, you accidentally boom, boom, bow, two shots. There's 2 points. You're literally putting 2 points on the board. And there's a couple calls that you can miss. The Devontae Smith one is certainly one that we can look at directly. And I guess the offside, that was actually a good call.
Yeah, that's a penalty.
That was like a clear penalty, and that puts him in field goal range. So I could see how if that was closer, if he was still in the field of play, and he pushed him, and they called it, which they probably would have. That crew was flag happy. They thought everybody was watching them, not the game. You know, they wanted to be a part of the game. It's a championship game, and we got to remember, not all these refs are built for the moment either. No, not all these refs are built for the big stage. You always talk about players showing up or not showing up, and I literally watched a video of me saying this from fucking 3 years ago. Nobody ever talks about the refs like getting nervous and choking in the big moments and accidentally throwing a flag whenever they probably shouldn't have thrown a flag, but they throw a flag. Now we got to stand on it because they're not ready for the big moment. There's just so much that goes into it all. If we were acting as if it was rigged, we'd be putting more faith in these refs' competence, and I don't think we should be doing that. It's the complete opposite end of the spectrum. Tony, you took some shrapnel last night on the internet, as did I, because we're corporate sellouts. We would like to remind everybody, we pay the NFL $4.5 million to be able to use footage from their games so that we can run it during this program.
They don't pay us.
The NFL does not pay us. They used to, hey, didn't they? When I was kicking those balls.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Insurance.
Damn right. Insurance is out. I found that out middle of pregnancy with my wife. That's great. It ended.
So before that,
So the NFL is actually fucking me too. I mean, with this 5-year insurance thing, it kind of stops in the middle of a pregnancy. That's an interesting. That's an interesting PR thing that if I really wanted to, I think we could probably make some noise about how big of a joke that is. But everybody was accusing us of being in bed with the NFL. We literally we started the PAFL this year because we were battling against the NFL. We pay the NFL. They don't pay us shit. Now, we do cover the NFL, and that's how we make our living. So we're very lucky for the NFL. But to act as if we would not be ones that would call out some bullshit, I lost every fucking bet yesterday. I lost every single bet yesterday. You don't think I'm fucking pissed off? But the reason why I'm pissed off is because of how bad the refs are, and I think that's our different view as opposed to a lot of people on the internet, and that's mostly because of all the people we've got to meet and be inside of it and see operate and chat with some of these refs who are fucking up these calls. Connor, I'm sorry, I went on quite a long rant there, but the internet was alive last night, and I didn't think it was possible for me to respond to everybody going, how,
Bingo.
How? I would have had to do that 27,000 times. How? Tell me how it would be set up. And then think about any human that you've ever met ever on them being able to keep a secret for the rest of their fucking lives. Maybe some people would be able to. Hey, maybe. And I'm not saying that there hasn't been these types of situations in the past in different professions, but with 50 million eyes on the product, if you were going to run a racket, do you know how tight and dialed in everybody in that piece would have to be? And you don't think that maybe there'd be other money options for them to go tell their story about everything that's going on? Yep. It's wild, and it all revolves around the NFL's officials fucking being terrible, some of them. Not all of them. Some of them. A lot of them.
Yeah, majority.
And Aaron talked about this. All the good refs get fucking plucked to TV because they get paid more money.
Because of money.
Which is exactly what we're referring to for making full-time, make it a job that's worth, being desired almost and wanting to have. So we don't have to do this every single time. But honestly, the officiating sucks, and it got put into spotlight last night, and hopefully it'll lead to change and be an advocate for change.